Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about preferences. Well, what is preferences? Preferences, when you want to say that you like one thing more than another thing, so it means you are going to talk about preferences because you tell about one thing more than another thing. So here there are two pictures that you can see about football and basketball. Example, you like football more than the basketball, so you can say like I prefer football to basketball. So that's the way you say preferences. In this topic, there are some preferences words that we're going to talk. The first one is prefer, the second is would prefer, and the third is would rather. Okay, first, prefer. Prefer is used for your general preference when you talk about something. So most time you like something better than something else. So this word we use in general case, in general statement, that you tell about what you like more than another thing. How do you use prefer? Here there are three formulas that you can use to make the sentence in prefer. The first one is prefer plus to infinitive. Of course, you're going to put the subject as well. So for this case, the word prefer will be changed if the subject she, he, it. Remember, if the subject are you, they, we will say prefer. But if the subject is she, he, it, we will say prefers. So let's talk about the first formula. Prefer plus to infinitive. Of course, we will start from prefer plus to infinitive. In this sentence, you're going to put subject first and then prefer and then plus to plus infinitive. Infinitive here means verb or base verb. Okay, for example, I prefer to read a comic. Actually, if you want to say I prefer to read a comic, it's okay. It means you like to read the comic than another book. But if you want to say what is another book that you mean, you can tell like I prefer to read a comic than a novel. So then here, to make the distance of the sentence, that you tell that you like more about read a comic than a novel. Now we are going to go to the second formula. Prefer plus nouns plus to plus nouns. So in this sentence, we just have nouns and nouns. So of course with the subject. So if the subject are you, they, we will use prefer, she, he, it still. We'll use prefers. For the second, here is the example. I prefer football to basketball. Football is a noun, and then basketball is a noun. So we use to make the comparison between football and basketball. It means you tell about that you like more football than basketball, but we will use to in the middle because the formula noun to plus noun. I prefer football to basketball. The third formula is prefer plus verb ing plus to and plus verb ing. So remember, if the subject she, he, it will be prefers. So like the example, she prefers singing to dancing. So singing is verb ing, verb plus ing. That's why we still use to make the comparison between what you like more than others. It means you like singing more than the dancing. And then put to in the middle of the nouns or the words. Second, would prefer. When you say I would prefer, it means in this situation, it is used in specific moment or time. So it means would prefer we use for the specific moment, at the moment when you talk or in one situation. So you will use would prefer. Remember, it's in specific moment. It's not in general. Here, there is example. For example, when you are in the restaurant and the waiter asks you, would you like shrimp or steak? Then you answer, I would prefer steak, please. So because here is in specific moment, so you will use would prefer. How do we use would prefer? Here there are two formulas that we can use when we want to make would prefer sentences. So the first formula, would prefer plus to infinitive plus rather than plus bare infinitives. So for this formula, for would prefer, for all subject is the same. There is no difference. So if the subject I or she or he, it's still would prefer. We are not going to change become would prefer. So remember, for all subjects we use the same formula. Example, I would prefer to study at school rather than at home. So in this sentence we can see after would prefer you will put to, after that the base verb study. I would prefer to study at school rather than at home. Remember to use rather than to compare which one that you like more. Now we're going to see the second formula. The second formula is would prefer plus two infinitives plus nouns plus rather than plus bare infinitive plus nouns. Example, I would prefer to watch TV rather than play a game. So here we can see that the sentence use would prefer, after that put to, and then the infinitive is watch plus noun, the noun is TV, and then you put rather than, then you put bare infinitive here, which is play. We don't put to before play because the formula say bare infinitive, so it means no to infinitive but bare infinitive, only play. So you will say play and then plus noun again. That's the way to make the sentence in would prefer. The third is would rather. Would rather is the same thing as would prefer, except the formula is different. It is used in a specific situation. So would rather you can use in the same case like would prefer. So they just have different formula, but the function is still same. It will be used in specific situation. Okay, how do we use would rather? There are some formulas that we can use to make would rather sentence. First, would rather plus bare infinitive. Remember, bare infinitive, it means you put the verb directly without to. So for example, I would rather watch. You will say I would rather watch without to. The second formula, would rather plus bare infinitives plus than plus bare infinitives. The third, would rather plus bare infinitives plus noun plus than plus bare infinitives and then plus noun. The example of the sentences here, the first one, I would rather leave now. So after would rather, you put the verb directly there, leave. Alright, that's the first example. The second, he would rather complete the task than play with his friends. You put subject and then would rather, the verb complete, then, and then you put the verb again after then, play, the bare infinitive. Now the third sentence, you would rather study English than math. So you put subject, would rather, verb, and then the noun, then, and then you can say study English than study math, or just say study English than math, that's fine. That's still okay. Now we're going to talk about the question. How to make the question and then how to answer the question. So for the first preference word, prefer, we use prefer. If you want to use prefer, the question will use do or does, depend on the subject. If the subject you, they, we, I, so you will use do. If the subject she, he, it, you will use does to make the question. Example, do you prefer football or basketball? You can say like that. Or you can say, do they prefer football to basketball? If the subject is he or he, you can use does in the first of the question. Does he prefer swimming or rock climbing? Or does she prefer swimming to rock climbing? Next, for would prefer, we will start from would for the question. So you can ask like, would you prefer to come to the party rather than travel the city? So you will say like that. And then it will be used for all subjects. I, you, they, she, he, it. The last, for would rather, we will start the same from would and then plus the subject and then rather and then the verb. Would you rather go to mall than park? You can ask like that. And for the answer, for number one, if someone asks you, do you prefer football or basketball? You can answer like, I prefer football to basketball. If there is a question like, does she prefer swimming or rock climbing? And then the answer can be, she prefers swimming to rock climbing. For the third question, would you prefer to come, or would he, okay, the question can be would he, would you, or would they. So because the answer he, so we will make the question, would he prefer to come to the party rather than travel the city? And then the answer can be, he would prefer to travel the city rather than come to the party. For the fourth question, would they rather go to mall than park? So the answer can be they would rather go to the park than mall. So those are the question and the answers. Alright, so now let's practice by using one of the example here. There are two pictures. The first picture is driving a car. The second picture is riding a motorbike. So which one that you like more? So in this picture, the picture, it means you like driving the car more than riding the motorbike. So let's guess. How do you make the sentence for this picture? Take time to think about this. Alright, here there are some answers that you can probably answer before. Let's see which one is your sentence. So the first one, you can say, I prefer driving a car to riding a motorbike. That's correct. If you want to use would prefer, you can say, I would prefer to drive a car rather than ride a motorbike. And then the last, if you want to say would rather, you can say I would rather drive a car than ride a motorbike. So 3 of the sentences are correct. You can use the sentence based on the condition. If it is in the general situation, in the general statement, so you can use prefer. Meanwhile, if it is in a specific situation or in one of the situation or condition, you can use would prefer or would rather. So I think that's all for this preferences topic for today. Hopefully everyone can understand about this, and then it can help you to learn about preferences. Thank you. See you in the next video.